No, as Gautam himself had said in one of the interviews that he gave, and about UAPA, and once you are in with that, under that stringent act, actually it's not just the prisoners who are majorly affected because they've got them under this act, it's the family also. We really don't know what to expect except the worst. Actually, Gautam calls me, he's scheduled to call me once in 2 weeks, and usually he does between 12 to 13 days. And on 30th November, when he called me, it was a video call, which is also pretty rare because they are supposed to, since jail is shut for all these months due to COVID, they're supposed to do video calls. But for the first time, I received it 2 weeks earlier, and we were seeing each other after 7 months. We hadn't seen each other. That was quite something. And then on 30th November, when he called, he was squinting his eyes and he could barely focus the camera. And I asked him what happened, and he said my specs were stolen on 27th November. He takes it off obviously to sleep. And then he went to the jail authorities to say he should be allowed to make an emergency call because he's near blind without his specs, that I know. And so they said he had to wait his turn. So it was only on 30th morning that he called me, and I immediately rushed because his optician is here and has a record for last 25 years. So I went there and I had his prescription from his eye doctor, and I had it placed the order, and it got made within 2 days. It was remarkable, actually, that they did it so fast. And third morning, I sent it, and I was feeling a bit relieved, although I was very anxious till he got it. But then on 5th, I thought, let me just, 5th, no, 7th, I thought, now it's 4 days, let me track and see what has happened. And I was shocked because it showed that it reached there on the 5th, and then it says clearly refused and returned. I was so shaken. I said, how can they do that? And there is no way for me to pick up a phone and call Gautam and say, hey, Gautam, this is what has happened. I had to wait for his call. In the meantime, I just wrote out to all his 4 lawyers, 2 in Bombay and 2 in Delhi. And I told them this is what has happened, and I attached the tracking receipt document for them to see this is what had happened. Based on that, they prepared a statement which I signed and we released, and the press picked up. And I'm so glad and thankful, Quint being one of them, very quickly. And I think the bad press that they got, immediately the next morning, the superintendent took notice. He sat up, he called Gautam to his office. And then he wanted to confirm because he was very upset, Gautam told me. Gautam, of course, was, but the superintendent was even more upset because it's really bad press for them. And he wanted to confirm. So Gautam told him, yes, my specs were stolen. Yes, it took me 3 days to call home. And yes, it reached here. I did not even, Gautam didn't know that it had reached and returned also. So he was pretty shocked. And then he said, this is what, and I'm near blind without it. So what do we do now? And that is when I think the warden was present. And the superintendent then said, please tell your family to send it again when she receives it, directly addressed to the superintendent. And he will receive it and he will pass it on to Gautam. So this is maybe damage control, maybe kindness of heart, which is hard to believe because they shouldn't have, firstly, it should not have been stolen. You know, they can't do anything with it. They'd be blind if they wore it, you know, because it's very high powered lens and it's precision made. So I can't even say get it made in Bombay, and it doesn't happen that way. And we are stuck because personally, if you send someone personally, earlier my experience was that they returned. His chappals had broken, I did that. He needed clothes, I did that. Every packet books, I did. And it's always returned. So we knew that they don't accept because COVID has gone on for so long. God knows what else to expect. So now a positive outcome out of this whole mess, and I lose my sleep when such things happen, obviously. So it's already 10 days since he has been dealing without it, actually. No, as Gautam himself had said in one of the interviews that he gave, and about UAPA. And once you are in with that, under that stringent act, actually, it's not just the prisoners who are majorly affected because they've got them under this act, it's the family also. We really don't know what to expect except the worst. I will tell you this, however much you prepare yourself saying, well, he should be all right, he's okay. There are 16 of them inside, and look at the age also. Most of them are above 60. Very few of them are much younger. And Gautam is somebody who doesn't need it only to read. He needs it the moment he wakes up, his specs. Stan Swamy, it took 1.5 months almost for a sipper. Varavara, they had to. So the option for me also was either I go through the lawyers and we approach the court, and do we keep knocking the court for slippers, for spectacles, for clothes, for court I thought is meant for bigger things, but then they are forcing us to do that. And I think it's high time we pay some attention to conditions inside the jail, really, rather than make it such a regimented, punishing thing for all the prisoners. They are not criminals. They are all under trials. They're not even convicted. So to treat them as though they are, it's one of the worst things, I think. So that is how we deal with it. Anytime I know his slippers have broken and then it takes so long, twice the packet is returned. So you feel frustrated, you feel enraged, and you also feel deeply sad because this is inhuman. And you cannot begin to even understand how this treatment could be meted out to prisoners. I'm not only talking about this lot, educated and good, they all have their names, and there are hundreds of them languishing. Gautam could turn and call me. There are those who can't even access this. So what happens then? And like Bombay High Court said, maybe workshops should be conducted for jail administration for them to understand what are the needs of the prisoners. That's what I would say.